Merry Christmas, y'all. Here's where we stand in the NFL heading into Week 17. We start with the playoff picture in the AFC, where as of today, the number 1 seed and the first round bye would go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Our 2 versus 7 will be Buffalo and Denver. Our 3 versus 6, Pittsburgh and LA. And our 4 versus 5 would be Houston and Baltimore. Now we head over to the NFC, where as of today, the number 1 seed and the first round bye would go to the Detroit Lions. Our 2 versus 7 will be Philadelphia and Washington. Our 3 versus 6, LA and Green Bay. And our 4 versus 5 would be Atlanta and Minnesota. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk scenarios. Let's start with the clinches, shall we? First up, it's the Atlanta Falcons, who can clinch the NFC South and a spot in the playoffs with a win and a Buccaneers loss. So a Falcons win and a Tampa Bay loss, and Atlanta is in the playoffs for the first time since 2017. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Rams, who can clinch the NFC West and their spot in the playoffs with a win and a Seahawks loss, or wins by 4 of the following teams: Commanders, Vikings, Niners, Bengals, Bills, and Browns. So a Rams win, a Seattle loss, or a combination of wins by Washington, Minnesota, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Cleveland, and LA is in the playoffs for the second year in a row. Up next, it's the Washington Commanders, back for the second week in a row. This time around, they clinch a playoff spot with a win or a Buccaneers loss. So a Commanders win or a Tampa Bay loss, and Washington is in the playoffs for the first time since 2020. Up next, we have the Los Angeles Chargers, and they're also back for the second week in a row. This time, they get in the playoffs with a win or losses by the Colts and Dolphins. So a Chargers win or losses by Indianapolis and Miami, and LA is going dancing. And last up for the playoff spots, it's the Denver Broncos, who are also back for the second week in a row. This time around, it's as simple as win and you're in. So if the Broncos win, Denver is headed to the playoffs for the first time since 2015. Additionally, it's attempt number 3 for the Philadelphia Eagles at clinching the NFC East. This time they need a win or a Commanders loss. The Detroit Lions can clinch the NFC North and the 1 seed in the NFC with a win and a Vikings loss. And finally, the Kansas City Chiefs are taking their second crack at clinching the 1 seed in the AFC. This time around, they need a win or a Bills loss. And now, the moment that most of you have been waiting for, let's see who's on Uberwatch. First up, it's the Cincinnati Bengals, back for the 3rd week in a row. This time their scenario is the same as last week. If they lose, they're out. So a Bengals loss and Cincinnati misses the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row. Up next, it's the Miami Dolphins, back for the 2nd week in a row. This time they'd be knocked out with a loss or wins by the Broncos and Chargers. So a Dolphins loss or wins by Denver and LA, and Miami is out of the playoffs for the first time since 2021. And for the Indianapolis Colts, it's second verse, same as the first. They'd be eliminated with a loss or wins by the Broncos and Chargers. So a Colts loss or wins by Denver and LA, and Indianapolis misses the playoffs for the 4th year in a row. Up next, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who could be done in with a loss and a Falcons win. So a Buccaneers loss and an Atlanta win, and Tampa Bay is out of the playoffs for the first time since 2019. And last up, it's the Seattle Seahawks, who could be eliminated with a loss and a Rams win or wins by 4 of the following teams: Commanders, Vikings, Niners, Bengals, Bills, and Browns. So a Seahawks loss and an LA win or wins by a combination of Washington, Minnesota, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Cleveland, and Seattle is out of the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row. So, think your team's getting in? Let me know in the comments, and have a Merry Christmas, y'all.